Alright, hey guys, hope y'all are doing alright. So today I have a cool exercise for you. This is something I like to do quite often. It's just sort of a way to get thirds and sixths under your fingers and be able to combine them and see how they line up all across the neck. So this is going to be an exercise in the style of the Motown era. A lot of that Steve Cropper, soul and R&B music that you heard in the 60s, like the Temptations, Sam Cooke, Otis Redding. A lot of that kind of guitar playing, they're playing rhythm and lead simultaneously. Okay, so if you want to get into that style of playing, this is a good place to start, because playing a lot of thirds and sixths, it's a great way to accompany a singer and serve the song without stepping all over everybody. And it's just a really kind of classy way to add some color tones into your playing and be able to outline the changes and play a few licks in between chords without just noodling, pentatonic type of stuff. Okay, so as we go through these patterns, I'm going to explain to you what it is I'm thinking when we go through here, because I really think that's the most important part of the guitar, other than getting your right hand in order, is being able to know how to think, right? And everybody thinks differently, but I'll just give you my point of view as to what I'm thinking when I'm going through here. So each one of these, your sixth and your thirds, they each have a pattern of intervals of whole steps and half steps in between, up and down the neck. We're not going to go over all that here, but it's very important to learn that, because once you see that, you can visualize the entire fretboard in a new way, and you can start playing licks in between your chords and connecting different things and seeing how these fall into your major and minor pentatonic scales. So if you're walking down through the E minor sixth, we'd have like, right, they're everywhere. And when you start seeing where these line up, you can start doing all these cool kind of slides like they do in all these R&B songs, right? Right, they're everywhere to be found. So this exercise will kind of help you see how you can put some of that together. And we're going to do the G and E strings and the D and B strings. Those will be the most useful, right? And then we're just going to go and work in 5 different positions. So I'm going to give you 5 walking down, and then you can see how these line up over all 5 of your major and minor pentatonic shapes. Alright, so we start out with this first pattern here, and we're going to be walking. When I'm looking at this, I'm thinking a few different things. I'm thinking my 3-note per string E major scale, I'm thinking my E minor pentatonic first position, and I'm seeing my 2nd and 3rd position of E major pentatonic, right? So if we just have, okay, I'm seeing my major scale, right? Position 5, or position 1 of your 3-note per string major scale, and then I'm seeing your first position of E minor. Okay, and then I'm seeing my 2nd position of E major, and I'm seeing my 3rd position of E major. Alright, so it's important to kind of see how all these things fall in there, and it's just a matter of repetition before everything starts to light up for you. And I'm going to hybrid pick all this. Pick on the G string, middle finger on a high E, slide in 14 to 16 and back to 14, then have 13 on G, 12 on the E string, then we're going to bar B and E on 12, slide into 14, slide back to 12. Alright, you can use different sets of fingers to slide, but I think it sounds best and it's easier to be the most accurate when you just bar. Alright, then we're going to walk up these dominant 7th double stops, right? So we're just going to leave out the major 3rd on all these. Okay, we just walk these up. 13 on B, 14 on E. Walk it up chromatically a half step to 14, 15. And then we'll land on your E7 triad. We're just leaving out the 3rd. And you have 15B, 16E. Alright, so we have, alright, so that's your first one. And then the second one, we're going to start out where the first one left off. We're going to start up here, 13 on G, 12 on the E string. And then we're going to go G and E on 11 to G and E on 9. I'm not going to slide, I'm just going to pick these. Okay, and then after you go G and E on 9, we're going to slide in these thirds. We're going to have 9 on E and 10 on B, slide into 12 on B and 11 on E, and then slide back to 9 and 10. So you have and then we're going to walk up these thirds on the G and B string, and this walks us right into our E major triad that's in our first minor pentatonic box. Okay, so that walk up on the G and B strings will be 11 on G, 10 on B, 12 to 11 on G and B, and then 13 to 12. Alright, so you'd have... Alright, so then we get into our third position. In our third position, we're going to slide in the G and E on 9. Then we're going to go back, we're going to have 8 and 7 on G and E, to 6 and 5 G and E. Then we're going to slide these thirds, these little double stops here, from B and E on the 7th fret to the 9th fret on B and E. I like to play this with my middle and ring finger instead of barring it because of where we're going to go next. You could even use your pinky and your ring finger. It's good to experiment. It's really good to be able to play with all sets of fingers playing any lick, so it's kind of good practice. You know, work on barring it, work on using your middle and ring, work on using your ring and pinky. Alright, so that whole little third part we'd have. Then we're going to walk up the G and B string on 7 to 8 to 9. And this puts us back in our E major triad. We're resolving all these back to the root of E. And it puts us right into an E major triad. Alright. So then from here we'll go to our fourth position. Alright, and we'll start out. Okay, we'll have 8 on G, 7 on E. Then we'll go 6 on G to 5 on E. And then we're going to go 4 on G to 4 on E. Then we're going to do the same kind of slide. We're going to go the thirds on B and E on 5, slide up to 7, slide back to 5. Okay, then we're going to walk up these double stops here on G on 2, 3 on B. And really we're just walking up a D-shaped major triad. Okay, but again, we're going to leave out the major third. So really you're just going from D to E flat to E major. Okay. Alright, so then we get into our last position here. This is sort of mirroring the first one we did, and we're just going to go. So you have G and E on 2, slide into 4 on G and E, and then slide back to 2. Then hit 1 on G with the open E. Then we're going to slide B and E on the 1st fret into the 2nd fret. And then hit B and E open. Okay, and then we're going to walk up those 7th double stops again. So you have 1 on B, 2 on E. Walk it up chromatically to 2 and 3. Up to 3 and 4. That'll put you in your E7 triad. Alright, so let's go over all 5 positions really slow on the G and E string. On your first position. Second position. Third position. Fourth position. Fifth position. So that's all 5 spots for the G and E string. So now let's move on to the D and the B strings. Okay, so then we have the D and B strings here, and these are kind of going to piggyback off of the other shapes that we played on the G and E. You can kind of see how they all are going to share similar notes as we begin to connect all these. So we're going to start out kind of doing the same thing that we did on the G and E strings, but up here on D and B. Alright, so we're going to slide in D and B 14 to 16, slide back to 14, then hit 13 on D and 12 on B. Okay, and then we're going to take our ring and pinky finger on 14 on G and B, slide into 16, and slide back to 14. Okay, it's best to use those fingers because of where we're going to go next. We're going to walk in these thirds up chromatically into our E major triad. So you're going to have 11 on G, 10 on B, up to 12 on G, 11 on B, to 13G, 12B. Alright. Alright, so then our second position, we're going to be starting off where the last position left off. That's always what's going to happen here. You're going to see how all these kind of connect and share certain notes. So we're going to slide in, I just kind of slide in from 11 and 10 on D and B. And we're going to slide into 13 and 12 on D and B. And then we're going to go back and pick 11 and 10 on D and B again. Then hit 9 on D and B. Then we're going to slide these double stops, these thirds, right out of your major pentatonic scale, right? So we're going to be sliding in 11G, 10B, up to 13, 12, and slide it back. Okay, then we're going to walk up in thirds into our E major triad again. Alright, you have 12 on D, 11 on G. Go up chromatically to 13, 12, and then 14, 13, D and G. Alright, so you'd have... Okay, and then it's important to see how you can connect these, right? So if you take the G and B string, right? And you can just start to kind of slide these around and start to see new things inside of these boxes that you wouldn't otherwise see if you weren't recognizing that these were thirds and sixth intervals that were happening right under your fingers, right? Okay, so then we get into the third position. We're going to start out, slide into 9 on D and B. Then we're going to go back to 7, pick that. Then we're going to hit 6 on D, 5 on B. Then we're going to slide these thirds, 6 on G, 5 on B. Slide into 8 and 7. And slide right back. Then we're going to walk up again, these double stops, right back into your E major triad. Okay, you have 7 on D and G, 8 on D and G, up to 9. Right out of this shape, or this triad, however you want to see it. Okay. Alright, so then we get into our next position, position 4. We're going to slide in to D and B on 7th fret. And then we're going to go 6 and 5 on D and B. And then to the 4th fret, D and B. And then from here, we're going to slide in these triad shapes, which are basically just major chord triads. And we're just going to have your 4th fret G, 5th fret B, up to 6 and 7 G and B, and slide that back. Okay, and then from here, we're going to slide these thirds right out of your D and B string. You have 2 on G, 4 on D. Slide it up a half step to 6 and 4. Go back and hit 2 and 4 again on D and G. And then we're going to hit 2 on D, 1 on G, right on your E major chord. Okay, so you'd have... And then our 5th and final one. There's a lot of cool ones you can do here, because on this pattern right here, on the 2nd and 4th fret, you can use all those, right? They all sound good. So you can kind of finish this off any way you want. I think what I did in the intro was something like that, right? So we're going to slide in 2 on D and B to 4 and back to 2. And then we'll hit 1 on the D string with the open B string. And then from there, we're going to slide these thirds, G and B on 2 into 4, back to 2. Then do the same thing on the B and E string. And then we're going to walk up chromatically from 2 on G, 3 on B, to 3 on G, 4 on B. Put you right back in your E major triad. 4 and 5 on G and B. Alright, so that's the whole exercise. And the whole goal of this, the whole point of it, is to be able to see how the thirds and the sixth intervals overlap and sit right on top of all your major and minor pentatonic scales. And so that's the framework you want to be able to visualize this in. And instead of just seeing a pattern that walks all the way down the neck on each pair of strings, you want to stop and kind of take 3 at a time, right? Take these 3 and see where we're at, right? You know, we're sitting right here. You're basically in your first position of E minor pentatonic. Okay, that'd be the easiest way to look at it. And as you see your first position of E minor, visualize all these 6 patterns on each pair of strings, right? And then start seeing where the thirds sit on top of that, okay? So then you go up. And when you start visualizing those things, you can start to connect your pentatonic scales and play licks and then get in and out of these thirds and sixths. And it's just a fun way to walk down. And then you have the double stops like we did in another video, and you can start doing that and walking up your thirds. Right, possibilities are endless, so it's just a lot of fun. And then you can start finding where you can slide in and out of. And you start to discover a lot of cool things, and it adds a lot of new spice and color to your playing. So that's everything. And just make sure when you're working on this, just take it, you know, 3 patterns at a time and just visualize the pentatonic boxes that you fall into. So that's it. Just practice slow, have fun. See you next time.